Hello, everybody. It's Daniel here, and this is our next emotional English podcast episode where we learn an English language effortlessly, emotionally, fulfilled with energy, and of course, positively. I'm welcoming all of you guys here, and welcome to another English lesson. Today, we have a moral, emotional story. So, always, I read this mini story for you guys. We go step by step, paragraph to paragraph, and then we discuss something new. Then I can ask you some questions related to this mini story, and you can learn something fun, something interesting, and something what can make your life a little bit better. Okay? So let's begin our today's mini story, and today's mini story called The Ants and the Grasshopper. The grasshopper, okay? The ants, these are little creatures which are very, very, very old. I mean, they are very historical. They're like dinosaurs to us, right? They're very small and they have a huge system, huge civilizations. And I actually had read the book about this, I think it was Bernard Werber, if I'm not mistaken. I think I'm pronouncing it in the correct way. So this is the surname of the guy, Werber, right? Whatever. So he is an author, and he got some nice books. And one of my favorite books, it's the Angel's Empire, and another trilogy he got about the ants. So he described the full potential and the full story how the ants live, and it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting if you haven't discussed or if you haven't heard anything about ants. That's pretty inspirational. And so the ants and the grasshopper is our today's topic. Who is a grasshopper? It's a little kind of weird creature, I would say. I have no idea how to describe it. I know that the grasshoppers, they live, in the grass. When you see a pretty decent amount of grass, probably you'll find grasshoppers there. They're pretty green-ish, I would say, and they can fly. Yeah. What else I can say about them? In Russia, we have the song about grasshopper. It's called The Grasshopper Who Was Sitting in the Grass, right? There was a grasshopper in the grass. There was a grasshopper in the grass, right? Something like this. But of course, it's just a joke. I cannot translate this music or song with a correct vocab and rhythm, right? It's kind of hard to do that. So you can ask translators. I'm an English teacher. So, but you know what? Grasshopper, I guess you got what it is. They are kind of aggressive insects, They do not have friends. But today's mini story is about something important. It's about... It's a good lesson to learn what this ants and grasshopper will show us today. All right, I don't want to say anything else. Let's begin our reading, and then step by step we will comment and discuss all the content of this beautiful emotional mini story. So we can start, shall we? One bright autumn day, a family of ants was busy working in the warm sunshine. They were drying out the grain they had stored up during the winter when a starving grasshopper came up. With his fiddle under his arm, the grasshopper humbly begged for a bite to eat. And this is the end of our first paragraph. Let's begin again. One bright autumn day, a family of ants was busy working in the warm sunshine. So what was the weather there? Of course, it was pretty warm, and the ants were relaxing there, right? Of course not. Ants were very busy. And it was not just ants, it was a family of ants, right? And that was one bright autumn day. It was not just a dark autumn day. It's not just an autumn day. It was a beautiful, amazing, bright autumn day. And you can imagine this beautiful family, right, of ants. And they were all kind of busy working in the warm sunshine. What is sunshine? Okay, so the sun, right? And the sun is always what? Shining. So when the sun is shining, you have a noun called sunshine, right? So that is what? Next. They were drying out the grain they had stored up during the summer when a starving grasshopper came up. So what they were doing, right? They were busy working in the warm sunshine. One bright autumn day, right? That was a family of ants. But you know what? They were doing a specific type of work. What kind of work they were doing? They were drying out the grain. Just repeat with me. They were drying out the grain, Danila, right? That's what they were doing. So they were drying out the grain. So imagine the grain, right? It's like herbs or whatever, long grass, and then you cut it off, and then you should get this grain. And then probably you should dry it, and then you can even make the bread out of it, right? So you can make a flour from it, right? So but the first process, you should cut it off, and then you should just dry it out, right? So you dry out these little seeds, the grain, and then these beautiful ants, they kind of dried out this grain, and they didn't, got this grain right away. They had a storing system. Storing system is the place where you keep all your stuff. And they had stored up a lot of grain. And now they're kind of getting some grain out of their storing system. And they were drying it out in the warm sunshine one bright autumn day. I hope you got me. Okay, so let's go next. And you know what? They were doing this for a reason. They were working so hard during the summer, right? And that very moment when they were working, a starving grasshopper came up. Who is starving grasshopper? Starving, it's this feeling which you got when you really, really want to eat. Imagine the state. It's, hungry. You are feeling hungry, right? And starving, it's like X4 feeling, right? You're like super hungry. You're, oh my goodness, I'm starving. I want to eat so much. So, and there was a grasshopper. He was starving. Oh my God, give me something to eat. He was like, and he came up. Who came up? Grasshopper. Starving grasshopper came up. And next. With his fiddle under his arm, the grasshopper humbly begged for a bite to eat. So what is fiddle? Fiddle, how I understand, it's like a violin, right? So this is this beautiful grasshopper. I think in the story about grasshopper in Russia, we have this story that grasshopper was playing violin or fiddle. Am I right? Is it fiddle or it's not fiddle, right? Fiddle, right? I'm not crazy. So with his fiddle under his arm, the grasshopper humbly begged for a bite to eat. He was like, excuse me, right? Humbly. It's a beautiful adverb. So when you're doing something aggressively, it's the opposite of humbly, right? You say, hey, you, give me some food, right? This is pretty aggressive. This is not very good, not nicely, right? So when you're doing something humbly, you're very careful. You can ask, you're kind of, excuse me, I'm so sorry. May I ask you a question, right? You're humble person, and humble people, they're very nice. People like when you are humble because you're not aggressive, you're not pushy, you're not asking many questions, and you're not very buggy. So you are asking humbly, how humbly. And there was a grasshopper, and he was humbly begged for a bite to eat. What does it mean, begged? Begging, it's the process like, do you have a coin? Like beggars, people who are asking money, they're beggars and they are begging for money, right? So, and, homeless people, they're begging for food, begging for money. And our grasshopper, he was humbly, very carefully begged for a bite to eat. Okie dokie. So that is the end of the first paragraph. Now I will reread the whole story. This little first part of the story, first paragraph, and you revise. Imagine the picture. Do not translate the words into your own language. Just imagine the picture. All right? Let's begin. One bright autumn day, a family of ants was busy working in the warm sunshine. They were drying out the grain they had stored up during the summer when a starving grasshopper came up. With his fiddle under his arm, the grasshopper humbly begged for a bite to eat. Okie dokie. So, the situation is pretty simple. Who was working very hard? Family of ants. You're right. Family of ants were working very hard. What was the weather there? It was warm, it was cold, it was windy, it was warm, and they saw a moon, right? No, of course not. There were no moon. There was only sun and beautiful, warm sunshine because the day was very dark, isn't it? Of course not. The day was bright, colorful, beautiful, amazing, outstanding, right? There was amazing bright autumn day. So, and what were these ants doing? They were swimming, they were eating. What they were doing? They were collecting grain? No, of course not. They were drying out the grain. They already had some grain, right? Where they had that type of grain? In their storing system, right? In their storage area, probably, right? In the box or in the chest, probably, right? So they drying out the grain. They were drying out the grain. Did they drying out the apples or bananas or oranges? No. They were not drying out apples, bananas, or oranges. They were drying out the grain. The grain, So, next part, who came up during the process of drying out the grain? So, there was a giraffe who came up? No. There was an elephant? No. There was a monkey? No, of course not. There was Zig the Goblin? No, there was not. There was a grasshopper. Grasshopper, right? Grasshopper, amazing grasshopper. So what did he have under his arm? So under his arm, beautiful grasshopper had fiddle or violin. Fiddle or violin. Not a guitar, not a piano, not something else. It was a fiddle or it was a violin. So, Mozart, he played fiddle or violin, right? So next part is a beautiful question to you guys. What was the season when all that thing happened? Of course, it was an autumn, right? The autumn day. Okay, right after the summer. And you know what? What grasshopper was doing there? He was doing there something. He came up for a reason, right? What was the reason? He was very, very hungry. He was starving. I want to eat, he said, right? He wanted to eat so much. So he was not just hungry. He was begging for food. He was starving because he wanted to eat so much. And the thing is, he was aggressively begging or he was humbly begging people. You're right. He was humbly begging. He was a humble grasshopper. Okay. Let's go next to the next paragraph, guys. It's a very short one. What? Cried the ants like this. They were not happy when he was begging for a bite, What? Like this. They cried. The ants cried like, what? What's going on here? What? Cried the ants. Haven't you stored any food away for the winter? What in the world were you doing all summer? They were asking, right? So this is the end of the second paragraph. What? Cried the grasshopper. No, not grasshopper. What? Cried the ants. They were confused. They were kind of nervous about begging of grasshopper, right? So, and they asked the grasshopper the question, haven't you stored any food away for the winter? So, they were kind of pushing the idea that you should do things in advance. You should ask things or think about things in advance. You should plan things, right? So haven't you stored, the construction of perfect tense here, haven't you stored any food away for the winter, right? So you've done it or you haven't done it, right? You repeat, have the grasshopper stored any food for the winter, away for the winter? Of course not. He hasn't stored anything, and that was a big problem for our grasshopper. That's why he came up, and he begged for a bite, right? So, what in the world were you doing all summer? Asked these beautiful ants. And you know what? Next, the grasshopper answered, I didn't have time to store any food before winter. The grasshopper whined, Well, you know what is whining? He's like, I didn't have time to store any food before winter like this. It's a whining, little kids, when they haven't got their beautiful chocolate or their favorite chocolate, they're like, Mommy, why haven't you bought me this beautiful chocolate? I really wanted that chocolate, right? So when you got this problem, you're whining. You're like, oh my goodness, what a bad day we had today, right? So it's something, it's not a positive way of interpreting your emotions. So when you're very sad, you're starting to whine and you're like almost crying, or maybe you are crying this very moment. I didn't have time to store any food before winter, right? The grasshopper whined. He was whining. I was so busy making music that the summer flew by. See, he continued to whine, and he was like, I was so busy making music that the summer flew by. Right? When something flew by, it means it goes pretty fast, right? Flew by. When I'm watching a TV, the TV or, the time flew by very fast. I love films with Jim Carrey or Steve Carell. So when I watch something like this, oh my goodness, the time flew by. Or when I play my indie games, right now I'm playing Hero Siege indie game in my computer. And you know what? When I play this game, it's like Diablo-like game. And when I play this game, the time flew by. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I should, it's probably, I should spend this time searching for a new wife. New wife? Why new? Okay, never mind. Cancelled. So I didn't have time to store any food before winter. The grasshopper whined. I was so busy making music that the summer flew by, right? So he kind of found an excuse why he haven't stored any food before winter, okay? So our beautiful family of ants asked the question, haven't you stored any food away for the winter? What in the world were you doing all the summer? And he answered, I didn't have time to store any food before winter. He said that, sorry guys, I have an excuse. I didn't have time to store any food before winter because I was so busy making music. And you know what? What kind of instrument he used? Of course, the fiddle, right? Violin or fiddle. So he was making music. He was playing violin, fiddle, and the summer flew by, right? Disappeared. The time flies, when we're busy, And the next thing, the ants simply shrugged. It's the next and last paragraph we having here. The ants simply shrugged and said something ridiculous, Making music, were ya? Like this, making music, were ya? Yeah, maybe this tone. Making music, were ya? Something like that. Very well, now dance. Dance, dance, dance on the floor, right? So, making music, weren't ya? They said, they shrugged. What does it mean, shrugged? Classically, they it's probably when you're shrugging, you're like putting your shoulders up, right? You are moving your shoulders a little bit up, and you just, without paying a big attention, you're like, okay, whatever. So that's the shrugging process. SHRUGGED, right? That's the spelling of this word, shrugged. So, and the ants, they simply shrugged and they said, making music, weren't ya? What a dude, right? Making music, weren't ya? Very well. Now dance, they said. And the ants then turned their backs on the grasshopper and returned to work, right? So they ignored his asking, right? They ignored his request. They were not very pleasant with our grasshopper, even though the grasshopper was pretty nice with them. He was not aggressive. He was not bad. He was pretty humble, but it didn't work. So this is the end of the story. And I can read you the whole mini story. But before I do this, I want to ask you a question. What do you think? What is the moral of this story? What is the moral? I think the moral is pretty simple, right? There is a time to work and a time to play. And this is the moral. There is a time for your English learning, and there is a time for your favorite TV watching or series watching or playing computer games, right? There is a time to work and there is a time to play. So, and you should distinguish, you should divide your timeline into these two time zones, right? It's very important to work and do proper work before you have your off time. So that is the moral. Don't forget to do things in advance. Take care of your work and then have a little time to play. I've changed my schedule a little bit, so now I work 24/7. I mean, I work every day, but I don't work a lot. It's a very good approach for myself. Maybe it's not very good for you guys, but for me, it's perfect. I like what I'm doing, and I like to teach people English, and this is the way what I'm doing. So I'm not forgetting about work, and I do have some time to play. For example, today I was hiking. It was an amazing morning. 6 a.m. in the morning, I woke up and I went to the mountains. It was so good there. It's just beautiful. Krasnodarski region during that time, during October, is still pretty warm. We had like 23 degrees. We were able to wear only t-shirts, right? And it was pretty nice. Anyway, guys, so let's read this whole story again and let's call it a day. So just listen and imagine the picture of the whole situation. I will try to play and not exaggerate. Let's begin. One bright autumn day, a family of ants was busy working in the warm sunshine. They were drying out the grain they had stored up during the summer when a starving grasshopper came up. With his fiddle under his arm, the grasshopper humbly begged for a bite to eat. "What?" cried the ants. "Haven't you stored any food away for the winter?" What in the world were you doing all summer? I didn't have time to store any food before winter, the grasshopper whined. I was so busy making music that the summer flew by. The ant simply shrugged and said, Making music, weren't ya? Very well, now dance. The ants then turned their backs on the grasshopper and returned to work. And the moral of the story is always, there is a time to work and a time to play. And this is the end of our mini story, guys. Emotional mini story has finished, just finished here. And we can say a couple words about the whole topic. We should know where we should work. We should know where we should stop. And we should know where is a good timing for our relaxation. So I wish you guys have a lot of good and productive time with your English learning process. And don't forget to learn and spend enough time for your progression. And if you guys are interested, very soon in November, I'm organizing a little meeting in Moscow in the Anti-Cafe. So it would be something like a little discussion club. We could just meet and discuss things, just the communicational part. I don't want to do anything official this time. So I don't want to have like a meeting room or something. So it's just a chill surrounding, a sip of your favorite coffee or tea, and everybody's paying for time in the Anti-Cafe. I think it sounds pretty funny, right? So you can practice your English. We can play some games there, and it could be nice. So I think it could be something like 20th of November, 23rd. Yeah, November 23rd. Let me check what is the calendars there. I will try to make it. Oh, yeah. So probably it would be 22nd. Oh, no. It's October. Sorry. One sec. Where is my calendar? Come on, Mr. Google. Show me, Dr. Google. Okay. Next November. Okay. Oh my goodness. No, 24th. I'm gonna be, maybe 24th is the time I'm going to the camp. So probably it would be Thursday, 23rd of November, evening time. Just think about it. I'm not sure about the exact time. Probably after 6, maybe 7 p.m. or 6:30. Probably 7 because I know you guys who lives in Moscow, you need some time to move to the space, to the location. So 7 p.m., let's say 23rd of November, Moscow City. If you guys are interested, just let me know. Send me the message on Telegram or on Instagram. Okay, whatever you can, right? It doesn't matter. So the case is you can go, I will create maybe tomorrow from 30th of October, I will create the page on emotionalenglish.ru, and you will have a chance to reserve your place there. It's not like a reservation, it's just an announcement that you're planning to come. Okay, so this is the case for today. And that's all for today, guys. It was Daniel here with you guys, and I'm hugging you all. I'm kissing you all, guys. If you want to improve your language, do it consistently, and the success will wait for you right there. So take care, everybody, and I see you very soon. Have an amazing weekends, the end of the weekends, right? Whenever you are listening this podcast episode, while you're running, while you're swimming, while you're doing your gym exercises, doesn't matter. You're doing a good job. Just respect yourself for this time which you spent with us, and have an amazing time, right? Yeah. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.